Esto es amor de verdad, nadie lo puede dudar.
Step up to craft beer. Taino Light Lager has a crisp, refreshing Caribbean-style flavor. Boricua Craft Ale, full-bodied flavor for the true beer drinker. Stop drinking beer water. Taino Craft Light Lager and Boricua Strong Craft Ale. Feel the rhythm and come up to craft beer.
Good evening, welcome to Hispanic Speak Out TV. I am attorney Marivic Gonzalez, owner of the MGR firm, practicing here in Central Florida. And today we have our guest speaker, Alexis Carter. Welcome.
Thank you.
And today we're going to be speaking about the very controversial law of stand your ground here in Florida. Other states have a duty to retreat when using force in self-defense. However, Florida has a very controversial law that has people questioning, is this a license to kill? Is this a Second Amendment right? Should there be more regulations to this law? So today we're gonna inform and educate our public with regards to this controversial law and highlight some cases that have been in the news lately. Before we do that, I wanna welcome Alexis Carter, and I wanna say a little bit about himself. So before I actually took notes on, you had so much on your background, which makes me very proud to have you here because he's a former colleague and a former FAMU student from law school. So he graduated from the same school, but I had to put it down because there was so much. So Alexis Carter, he actually served in the Army Reserves. He just got promoted as major.
Thank you.
He also, from 2010 to 2017, he served as a JAG officer.
Correct.
And in 2014, he was deployed to Afghanistan. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
He was also recently featured in the Paramount Network docuseries entitled Rest in Power, the Trayvon Martin story. This examines the legal and social aspects involving that case, which if you live in Florida or even across the United States, you have heard of that case, and it's impacted all of us in the community, whether Hispanic or not. It's impacted all of us. And Mr. Carter also serves on the board of the City of Orlando with the Veterans Advisory Council as well.
That's correct.
So I wanted to welcome you. And first I wanted to start with explaining what Stand Your Ground. Explain the law to our public.
So Stand Your Ground, which was enacted in 2005, is a law that was enacted by the legislature, which allows someone to use deadly force given certain circumstances and not be in fear of facing prosecution.
Okay, and what do you mean by being in fear of facing prosecution? Does it give somebody the right, and like I said before, a license to kill? I can just shoot someone and not get arrested?
Well, yes and no. So you said license to kill. License to kill is a very broad phrase and could imply a lot of things, but really it does prevent an arrest, but doesn't mean that person's not going to face prosecution. For example, I meet someone out in the street, there's an argument, that person pulls out a gun, I pull out my gun, I shoot that person dies. There's other bystanders who say, yeah, that's the person. He pulled that gun out on Mr. Carter in a threatening way, and Mr. Carter defended himself. Well, police are on the scene. They take witness statements. They look at all the evidence that's there on the scene, and if based on probable cause, the police officers feel that I was justified in using deadly force, they cannot arrest me. Let me explain what I mean by cannot arrest. So it's
more why don't they arrest that time?
So the reason why they don't arrest is because they do arrest and that person files a stand your ground motion and wins, that police agency is now civilly liable for damages, meaning that that person can sue the cops or sue the agency for arresting them for attorney's fees, time off of work, and maybe even some other damages.
So for our viewers, the police agency themselves and the police officer can be held liable civilly, personally, and through the agency.
Yes.
So sometimes most of the time they have to make sure that the arrest is not good and not a false arrest.
Correct.
Okay. So, and just besides with stand your ground, because for our viewers, the police officers are not attorneys.
That is true. So
because that happens in other, like our background also, we used to be in the public defenders, and sometimes police arrested for, I'm making something up, for grand theft. But then when we went to court and when we got the file, the charges were petty theft.
Right.
Or something else.
Right. So when someone is arrested, they're informally charged, if you will. They're booked under a certain violation of the criminal statute. That police investigation goes to the state attorney's office. It goes to an intake attorney. That intake attorney then reviews the facts of the case and decides whether or not charges should be filed. Information or charging affidavit, if you will, should be filed. Sometimes the charging affidavit or the charges that are filed by the state attorney's office can be different than what the person was originally arrested for. Like the example that you gave. Someone was originally arrested under grand theft. It goes to the state attorney's office. The state attorney's office can decide, you know what, we're not going to file, we're going to no-bill this case, or we are going to file, but we're going to upgrade the charges or reduce the charges.
Can you explain the castle doctrine versus the stand your ground doctrine?
Sure. So the castle doctrine, you're not going to find that anywhere codified in the actual statute. It's something that we inherited, and when I say we, as a society, as a country, we inherited certain common law principles. Those were principles that were passed down to us from the mother country, if you will, England. And essentially in the castle doctrine, a man was viewed to be the king of his home and had the ability to protect his home, protect the area surrounding his home, and didn't have a duty to retreat. So with the castle doctrine, there was a presumption that if an intruder came into someone's home and that person used force, that the person was justified in using deadly force against the intruder.
And this is only inside your home. So this is when you hear people justified if someone's breaking into your home, using your weapon, the Second Amendment rights. However, the standard doctrine takes it outside your home.
Right. So there was a series of cases that kind of started to broaden the castle doctrine. It not only applied to inside your home, it started to apply to, if you had land, the fenced-in area, which is still considered your property. It even started to apply to your vehicle. If someone were to come to you, approach you while you're in traffic or in your vehicle, those same principles applied. And then it began to apply to anywhere you were legally justified in being present.
So I want to talk about two controversial cases, one which is the Trayvon Martin, in which you testified.
Correct.
In what capacity did you testify?
Sure. So back when we were public defenders, I taught part-time at Seminole State College. I taught an introduction to a criminal law course, and George Zimmerman was one of my students. So when the case initially kicked off, if you will, George Zimmerman made several comments to the media that he knew nothing about Florida's self-defense law. He knew nothing about Florida's stand your ground law. So the prosecution brought me on to basically rebut that assertion that he either knew or should have known something about Florida's stand your ground law by nature of taking my class.
Okay, and the other case just happened recently, so it's the Marquis McGlatton over a parking space.
Right.
However, it's more of a parking space. If you can, so Trayvon Martin, we have a 17-year-old that ends up dead. Zimmerman was acquitted, right? And now we take it to now, more recent times. Can you say a little bit about the facts, compare the two cases?
Sure.
And what are the similarities and the differences? So maybe our viewers can get a better idea or grasp of how the standard ground law works.
Sure. So in my opinion, the biggest difference is that the McLaughlin case was caught on video.
Yes.
Right? So everyone saw everything. The only difference of opinion that one could have is just based on your perspective. You know, based on timing, when was the gun actually pulled out, when did the person take a few steps back, whatever the case is. But everything is seen there on video. Another difference in that case is that there were other witnesses. Mr. McLaughlin, I believe, was trying to protect his family. It was his girlfriend or the mother of his child and kids in the car. There were also witnesses outside in the parking lot. So you had more witnesses, you had more things going on, that the police had more people to question and more evidence to rely on.
And something that comes back to memory in the Trayvon Martin, when I was listening to the trial, was even the trying to figure out whose screams and yells for help there were.
Exactly.
Like you had Martin's family and you had the witnesses for Zimmerman,
right,
all identifying the witnesses.
Right.
So that,
it's tough.
it was heart-wrenching.
It was. So,
but do you think there is a racial component to the stand your ground, or why is there such controversy with regards to the people that say that it is a license to kill minorities, or
well,
do you have a perspective? What is your perspective on that?
The numbers don't lie, and the numbers suggest that blacks are disproportionately, affected when it comes to stand your ground, meaning that when they are the victims of someone shooting them, and usually it's a white person, that white person is able to assert stand your ground and use it as a means to avoid prosecution. The contrast isn't true. So when a black person kills a white person or kills anyone and tries to assert stand your ground,
they're usually in jail
first,
trying to claim that the police officer committed a false arrest.
Exactly. So those are the circumstances. And, whether someone is in jail or not is very important.
Jobs are lost.
And just the mere fact of being able to assist in your own defense. People don't realize how important it is for a defendant, if you will, to be able to make phone calls freely to witnesses and other people, or go back out to the scene to do their own investigation, or go out to the scene with their attorney and to have this open line of communication with their attorney to be able to assist themselves in their own defense. When you're locked up, it's kind of hard to do that. Matter of fact, it's extremely hard to do that. Your defense attorney doesn't have the ease of access to you, if you will. Your calls are monitored, all these different types of things. Friends and family or other people who may have saw something or know something, they can't get a hold of you, you can't get a hold of them as easy. So it definitely makes a difference in the outcome of a case.
Well, I just want to thank you for being here and educating our public. I really would want you to return back, because there's more to discuss. Sure. But hopefully for our viewers, I hope you got a better understanding about the difference between stand your ground, castle doctrine. There is more left to speak with regards to this issue. This is affecting our whole nation, and not just Florida and the United States. And different states have different laws that are different from the ones Florida holds. But thank you once again.
Thank you.
Major Carter. Well, good evening, and we will see you next time.
Esto es amor de verdad, nadie lo puede dudar.
Step up to craft beer. Taino Light Lager has a crisp, refreshing Caribbean-style flavor. Boricua Craft Ale, full-bodied flavor for the true beer drinker. Stop drinking beer water. Taino Craft Light Lager and Boricua Strong Craft Ale. Feel the rhythm and come up to craft beer.
It is the kind kind of weekend where an ice-cold beverage is probably the thing you want. A local businessman launching his own craft beer company, and he's targeting Hispanic customers. He's at the Sentinel today to tell us more about this new beer. Caitlin.
Yeah, so actually you took the words out of my mouth, Andre. I was thinking whether a nice weekend means maybe a nice cold brewski. And I actually have Kyle Arnold, who's our restaurant and retail reporter in-house. And Kyle, you know, craft beer is a trend, but it seems that we have one local brewer taking it to sort of the next step. And let's talk about Boricua craft beer and Taino beer, which is like sort of its lighter sister beer. So talk to me about those two products.
Yeah, exactly. It was a beer that was launched here a couple months ago by a local company at Altamont Springs. Danny Ramos is running it. It's being produced up in Cape Canaveral at Florida Beer Company. And it is a beer that is, you know, hoping the Boricua name means Puerto Rican. There's a huge population of Puerto Ricans here, hoping that he can, you know, create a connection between those people to get his name out.
So when I think of craft beer, you know, I think it certainly targets a specific audience, but he's taking it a step further. Can you elaborate more on why target the Hispanic population?
Yeah, there's like 500,000 Hispanics in this area. About half of those are Puerto Ricans, and a lot of Puerto Ricans and a lot of Hispanics are in that millennial age group, just like the rest of the country. And those people are kind of disregarding the beers their parents grew up with, and they want local beers. They want things that cater a little bit more to their taste, a little bit higher quality, and they're willing to pay for it.
Sure. And so, where locally can we find this?
There's a couple Publix around town in some of the bigger Hispanic pockets of town. Sedanos, Bravos, there's a bunch of 7-Elevens. You can find them almost at all the ABC wine and spirits. They have a pretty big craft beer selection.
Excellent. And so I know this isn't the only brewery or brewer looking to target this market. Who else is popping up, nationally?
Yeah, there's some companies out of like Southern California, like Ohana Brewing. There's some other ones. What's really interesting about Boricua is I really haven't found many others that target Hispanics specifically, and you already see that done in the mass beer market with Corona,
exactly.
Dos Equis things. Mexico's a pretty big beer market, but in terms of Americans, they've really kept it general so far. Either localities like Orlando Brewing or Fat Tire, just a generic term out of Colorado.
Excellent. And I just want to know, what has the reception been? If it's only been launched for a few months, what's the kind of feedback you're getting on this?
It's doing pretty well in some restaurants around town, especially some like Puerto Rican restaurants that they really only offer, some of the big international beers, Heineken and things like that. They bring in a local beer. It says craft brew. It's got a local tie to it, and people want to try it, especially tourists from out of town. They want to, see what the local flavor is, and so far it's been good.
Excellent. So we have a local entrepreneur, a local brewer here, targeting a very specific market within a larger market. So we'll just have to see how Boricua goes from here. But if we're seeing all these temperatures, I myself might crack one this weekend.
I think you should, Caitlin. Cheers to that. What a terrific idea.
Cheers.
All right.
Thanks for watching this video. You can watch Orlando News Now every weekday on OrlandoSentinel.com. We go live at noon. See you then.
Good evening and welcome back to another episode of Hispanic Achievers. I am your host, Sandra Rivera, and we have a special guest. You heard from her last week, Evelyn Colon. Evelyn recently moved here from Puerto Rico. She was a survivor of Hurricane Maria and one of the growing number of citizens who have migrated to Florida in search of a better life, in search of some normalcy again. And she's going to be here talking to you about Puerto Rico as it is today, and shedding some light on the things that are happening over there that maybe you as the viewers aren't aware of or don't know, but we'll be hearing from her point of view. Evelyn, welcome. Thank you for being here. So let's start out by talking about why you decided to leave the island after Maria.
Mi decisión la tomo porque estuve casi 52 días sin energía eléctrica. La ayuda como tal fue muy lenta, los trabajos con la compañía de Autoridad de Energía Eléctrica fueron muy lentos, incluso mi esposo tuvo que hacer un hoyo en el mismo patio para poder instalar entre él y los vecinos un poste de alumbrado porque no había personal de la Autoridad de Energía Eléctrica para poder hacer ese tipo de trabajo, porque pues sabemos que el daño fue grande y comprendemos que pues no daban abasto, pero ellos mismos nos decían que si teníamos personas que pudieran ayudar, ayudarlos a ellos, y mi esposo pues junto con los vecinos muy amablemente se dieron a la tarea de hacer los hoyos para poder poner los postes, pero con todo y con eso se dilató mucho, y pues nosotros tenemos que velar más por la seguridad de nuestros niños antes de nosotros como adultos. Luego del huracán María, la educación, todo se fue dilatando, todo fue muy lento, y entonces entendemos nosotros que por el bienestar del niño como tal, pues no podíamos permanecer en un lugar donde la devastación, como todos saben, fue bastante grande y todo fue bien lento. O sea, a la hora de ir a buscar el hielo, la falta de seguridad era grandísima, las enfermedades, la falta de medicamentos, etcétera. O sea, todo fue de alimentos, o sea, todo fue muy precario, muy lento, y nosotros pues no tuvimos más opción que salir de mi patria. No fue huyendo, simplemente buscando un mejor porvenir, una mejor calidad de vida para el nuestro.
And why Florida? ¿Por qué Florida?
Porque entendemos que en ese momento fue quizás la comunidad que nos abrió las puertas y nos dejaba en claro de que podíamos establecernos mucho más cómodos aquí, etcétera, y como entendíamos nosotros que por el idioma, etcétera, pues nos podíamos establecer aquí, pues hasta aquí llegamos. Fue un lugar, fueron unos momentos bien quizás estresantes, bastante tediosos, pero estamos en victoria. Estamos en victoria, y gracias a Dios y gracias al señor Bobby Lance y a su familia como tal por ayudarnos, estamos aquí en pie.
Muy bien. Hurricane Maria was not the cause of the problems that Puerto Rico was experiencing. Can you talk about that?
Mira, yo te voy a ser bien honesta. Los problemas en Puerto Rico como tal, tanto del ambiente, seguridad, educación, todo lo que tiene que ver con Puerto Rico en general, no sale a la luz sino es hasta que María le quita esta máscara a la pobreza real que hay en Puerto Rico, que a este siglo que estamos viviendo es triste saber que hay familias que aún a esta fecha no tienen energía eléctrica, que aún a estas alturas de este siglo todavía viven en una pobreza tan extrema. No es un secreto que las muertes en Puerto Rico fueron muchas y salieron muy pocas a la luz, y no fue hasta un estudio que hizo una universidad aquí en Estados Unidos que se dieron cuenta que fueron más víctimas de las que se habían reportado, que nos demuestra a nosotros que siguen habiendo misterios, siguen habiendo quizás este tipo de máscara, este tipo de ¿cómo te puedo, la palabra correcta, vamos, como dice el verdadero puertorriqueño, como estas ollas tapadas que vino María y las destapó y les dijo, mira, al mundo entero, esto es lo que está sucediendo en Puerto Rico, esta es la realidad de esta familia, esta es la realidad de esta patria como tal. O sea, no es un secreto que desde antes que viniera María ya había muchas interrogantes con muchas situaciones, tanto con lo político como con las demás situaciones educacionales, la seguridad, etcétera, etcétera, con Puerto Rico. Y vino María a repartir fuerte, sacó todo lo que había oculto. Y hoy día, ante millones de personas, saben que en Puerto Rico todo lo que es política, básicamente negocia el dolor de la familia pobre en Puerto Rico. O sea, básicamente la pobreza y la vida humana en Puerto Rico es un negocio. Y todo es política. Y es muy triste para muchas familias como la mía, que tengamos que emigrar, no por no ganas de echar para adelante a mi isla, sino que es imposible. Y es muy lamentable que no podamos contar con el apoyo con los que un día ponemos en aquella silla, en aquel Capitolio, para que velen por nuestros intereses. Lamentablemente no están haciendo bien su trabajo.
Are you starting to see a shift in that viewpoint? Todavía no.
Yo entiendo que aquí se están pasando como la papa caliente, o sea, aquí Puerto Rico cada día está en decadencia. Cada día está más deplorable. La seguridad es cada día peor. Los pueblos están cada día más abandonados. más desértico. La policía como tal está muy maltratada y muy lacerada. O sea, no se les reconoce a estos hombres que día a día arriesgan sus vidas, dejan sus familias en sus casas para defender un pueblo, y no se les está dando las remuneraciones que ellos necesitan como tal. ¿Me entiendes? Son personas que pasaron más de 12, 24 horas trabajando. No se les honró sus trabajos. Hasta el sol de hoy yo conozco personas que todavía les deben horas de trabajo. ¿Me entiendes? Conozco servidores públicos que hoy día le han bajado jornadas de empleo. ¿Me entiendes? Porque según los alcaldes, según los políticos, el dinero no da. Entonces, por eso es que ahora mismo el Congreso como tal y estas personas que son los que suplen quizás el país con lo económico, lo están como que pensando mucho en querer suplir de ciertas ayudas a Puerto Rico por el hecho de que no sabemos dónde están yendo a parar esos fondos. Yo como puertorriqueña como tal puedo decir que yo no sé dónde están yendo a parar este tipo de ayuda, porque vamos a ser reales, no están llegando a los fines por los cuales ellos están abogando que tienen que llegar.
So where do you think the current government of Puerto Rico, where do you think their priorities are right now?
Entiendo yo que las prioridades hoy día quizás es limpiar un poco la imagen y el mal sabor que dejó el paso de María, y quizás dejar entrever de que sí están haciendo un trabajo, de que quizás estos son falsas expectativas o son falsos récords que han hecho las personas, o lo hacen por hacer quedar mal el gobierno. Mira, es que esto no es cuestión de colores ni de políticos ni de partidos como tal en general. Esto es algo que viene partido tras partido, cuatrenio tras cuatrenio sucediendo. Aquí no es cuestión de colores, aquí es cuestión de la irresponsabilidad que está teniendo el gobierno como tal, de que no se juntan en un solo gobierno para poder buscar la solución y las alternativas necesarias para un país que pide a gritos ayuda. Y es bien lamentable que Puerto Rico le haya dado tanto y tanto a estas personas o a estos personajes, y que ellos hoy día dejen a las personas que tanto necesitan a la deriva.
What about the people who say, well, in order to improve Puerto Rico, we need the professionals to stay there and build the economy back up?
Es que lamentablemente no le ofrecen opciones a este tipo de profesionales. Por ejemplo, yo soy estilista profesional, soy máster en belleza. Mi esposo también es barbero y adicional a eso trabajaba en una fábrica en Puerto Rico muy conocida, y no nos ofrecían alternativas. O sea, todo eran trabas y trabas. Incluso conozco personas que emigraron junto conmigo para acá, para Florida, y otros para otros estados, que son policías. Tengo muy buenas amistades que son policías, tengo amistades que son enfermeros, tengo amistades que trabajaban básicamente en el gobierno y no estaban haciendo nada. O sea, la paga, el dinero no está llegando a esas arcas donde tienen que llegar. O sea, las personas no estaban recibiendo sus amortizaciones como tienen que recibir. O sea, seguimos estando pobres, seguimos estando lamentablemente cada día perdiendo recursos por la ineptitud de los gobiernos entrantes y salientes. No estoy echando la culpa a un solo gobierno, en gobiernos entrantes y salientes, porque no se ponen de acuerdo y están haciendo campañas quizá o haciendo nombre con el dolor ajeno. O sea, con el dolor de un pueblo que hoy lo que pide a grito es ayuda, porque lamentablemente sí hay hambre en Puerto Rico, sí hay, la delincuencia cada día está más alta en Puerto Rico, la pobreza se sigue marcando más y más y más, y la deserción de personas y de profesionales de Puerto Rico cada día va en aumento. ¿Por qué? Por la ineptitud de un gobierno como tal.
And do the people that you've met or the people that you know that came here, is there a desire to go back? If Puerto Rico were to improve, is there a desire to go back? Okay.
No, y no es que no amemos la tierra como tal, amamos, Puerto Rico es hermoso, amamos nuestra tierra. Yo soy una persona que cargo mi bandera con un orgullo increíble, pero no podemos hacernos de la vista larga y no podemos hacernos los ciegos por el amor que le tenemos a nuestra tierra.
Going on around the world, and it's the reason that we brought Evelyn here to talk to you about her perspective. She was on the front lines of Hurricane Maria. She understands the condition of Puerto Rico, and we want you to see an honest perspective about what is happening and not just what you may read in the papers or see in the news. So thank you for joining us. Join us next week for another episode of Hispanic Achievers. I'm your host, Sandra Rivera. Good night.